Well, good morning, and here we are again at Zen Fits in Blackstone, Virginia, where everything fits. When you reach that moment where nothing fits, absolutely nothing fits, then everything will fit. Magic. So the title of this talk is I Cannot Pull the Weed. I Cannot Pull the Weed. And I'm going to talk more about killing Eve, the weed, Eve, the weed, in a little depth, because I'm watching this show, Killing Eve, on Hulu again, and I'm getting more out of it the second time than I got the first time. It's a weed that keeps on giving flowers. A weed that keeps on giving flowers. So the irony of I cannot pull the weed is that the weed and the flower are different, but they can't be separated. So there's a Zen cone. The Zen cones are very simple, profound kernels of a contradiction. And they're ironic. Irony points one way but means the other way. So if Don Rickles says in a roast, attacks somebody sitting up there, it's his attack, his defaming them is a embrace of their fame. Ironic, you see. So the irony of killing Eve, the more I get into it, the more this whole show is like a Zen cone. An extended Zen cone goes for 4 seasons, you see, but it can be compressed into one truth. And this is this is the cone that, for me, is the flower of killing Eve. A Zen master said, I cannot pull the weed for pulling the flower. I think we've all had that experience, literally, where you got a weed and a flower entwined, and you pull the weed, and oops, you pull the flower up too. Well, before the flower and before the weed, getting to the garden now. Let's go to the Garden of Eve. Not the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Eve. The Garden of Eve in Genesis is a kernel, legend, or story that really is the root of American civilization. It's really the root of the Western mind, who is in exile. We're all in exile, wandering through the labyrinth ways of our world, looking for the flower. But all we see is weeds, shootings, violence, disturbance, anger, inside and out, nothing but weeds. Where is the flower? And the more we pull the weeds to discover the flower, the more weeds we have. It's like wiregrass. I got wiregrass in my front yard. Can't get rid of it. It doesn't stay on the lawn like regular grass. No. The wiregrass wants to get into the flowers. It wants to climb up the shrubs. It wants to get over the sidewalk. If I don't groove it back a lot, if I don't edge the sidewalk, the wiregrass will take over the sidewalk. It's like kudzu, lawn kudzu. So we're living in a world of kudzu, of weeds everywhere. Weeds, news, weeds, every day, more weeds. Oh, where are the flowers? Where have the flowers gone? All we see is weeds. Well, we need to get back to the Genesis and the Garden of Eve. Now, Eve, for some ironic reason of the ancient Jews, that's their legend, Eve was seduced by the snake to bite the forbidden fruit that would give her the knowledge of good and evil, of weeds and flowers, of good and bad. And it tasted so good, she had to give it to Adam. And when God discovered what they did, he kicked them out of the garden. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Wander the earth through time, looking for the way back in, looking for the lost garden, lost paradise, the unity that I once was, the love I once had, the Casablanca. We'll always have Paris. It's like Adam and Eve saying, well, we'll always have the memory of the garden. But why Eve? Why Eve? I wondered about that. See, in the ancient world, before the Jewish religion, was the patriarchy. It was male. It was a pyramid. Male on top, God's a male, man, and then below that you got women and children and slaves and yada, yada, yada. But it was a pyramid. It's a patriarchy. And we're still struggling with that. We all know what that is. So why was Eve made responsible for the exile of humanity? To wander the earth and suffer. To wander the earth in suffering, looking for the lost paradise, the lost soulmate, the lost love. Was it in the past, or is it in the future? If it's in the past, you're conservative. If it's in the future, you're liberal. Oh, look for the lost unity, the lost garden, the lost America, the lost paradise. Has many names. One feeling. Something's missing. Something is missing. Even when you get the new car, it won't last. Even when you fall in love, the romantic love won't last. The rush, the unity fades. Impermanence, says Buddha. All is impermanent. Everything changes. Where is that which doesn't? There is that which doesn't change. Where is the lost flower? See, maybe if I get rid of all these weeds, I'll discover it. So we pull weeds. We pull weeds to find the lost flower, but the pulling of the weed is the flower. What? It's ironic. So Eve is an ironic situation. But I think, and this is my opinion, my viewpoint, is that the patriarchal Jewish worldview was that of the nomads, the desert people, the herders, and their God was a masculine God. But the farmers and the people of the land, their God was the Mother Earth, you see. They plowed Mother Earth. They planted seeds in Mother Earth, and Mother Earth grew. So these are two different mythologies. The mythology of the herder, who carries God with him, and a portable God, and the mythology of the farmer, who stays in one place and plants the seeds, and of the dying and resurrected crops, the dying and resurrected earth, you see, winter, spring, But for the herder, the nomad, they want a portable God, not one that is rooted in the seasons, you see. Anyway, I'm just reflecting on this. But the idea of the mother, which in the ancient world, in philosophy, yoga, Hindu, is called Maya. Maya, mother. And Maya is the goddess. That whole reality is in her womb. We live in the womb of the goddess. My consciousness, your consciousness, is a world, but it's in the womb of the goddess. And in the goddess's womb, everything comes in pairs of opposites. There's a good twin and a bad twin. There's up and down. There's in and out. Everything comes as two. in the womb of Maya. There is no one in the womb of Maya. Everything comes as two. If I say this, and this is not abstract, this is very practical. Whatever you think of as one, if I hold up this little incense burner, this is the one. I go to the store and I'm looking for something. I'm looking for a gift, special gift. And I see this and I say, oh, that's the one. Now this is the one because it's not all the other gifts. So that's two. There's the many and there's the one. That's two, you see. It's not like there's two of these. Or if there is two of these, I'll study it until I find the one without a flaw. Oh, this one's a little better than the other, so I can choose. This is the one. So whenever there's two, we'll start analyzing them in order to find the one. So we're always looking for the one. For the one that has no, this is the one, it has no second. But it's the one because it's not many. That's two. The whole and the one go together. You can't separate the whole from the one. You can't separate the one from the back. You can't separate this from the background, you see. Look at this. It's one. But it's one because it's not me. It's not the wall. It's not all the other stuff, you see. So these are different. The whole room, all of this is the many objects. That's the one whole. And now you got the one thing in the many. So you got two ones. You got the one that is the whole, and you got the one that is the object, you see. They're different. This is different from the whole room. You can't even perceive this. You can't even know this unless you see it separate from the background, you see. You see it? You see? This is the one thing. This is the one thing you're looking at, but you can only perceive it because it's not me. It's not the background. The one. So there's two ones. The one that's the whole, and there's the one that's the thing, you see. But, you see, there can only be one. There can only be one, you see, one reality. If there's two realities, then you're schizophrenic or you got a walleye and you're seeing two, like me, you're seeing two worlds. So I look this direction here, like one eye is going up, one eye is going down. I see two me's. But I know it's a walleye. I remember when I was a child that I saw two worlds when I looked to the left, and I thought everybody did. I thought that was the world. I thought the two was one. Look to this, there's two. Look this way, and there's one. You see, one eye goes up. Right, but anyway, that's kind of metaphorical to the point here. The two is the one, and the one is the two. And this is where we get into Zen. Not one, not two. Where does that leave you? It leaves you where nothing you do is any good. It leaves you where you have to leap to a new one, a bigger idea, a bigger perception, a bigger understanding, a bigger boat in Jaws, you see. You got to make a leap to the one that is two, and the one that is two has no second because it's you. The one that is two cannot be duplicated, is not you are both the background and the foreground. You are both the whole and the one. Different. Consciousness splits into different ways of viewing. You look at the whole, you look at the one. But you are consciousness, so you are the one that is two. You include both, but you can't be found. You can't be known. You can't be the one, because if you found the one, there'd be two. If you found the one that is you, you would find something that is the one, and that's two. So the one cannot be found. The one transcends the two. The one is upstream of the two. So we're searching for the flower in the wrong place. You are the flower. You are the flower, you see. But we think the flower is out there. And we know it's a flower because it's not a weed. Oh, that's a weed, that's a flower. If you want all flowers, if you want all you, if you want all one, pull all the weeds. Get rid of those immigrants. Get rid of the Jews. Get rid of the blacks. Get rid of the gays. Get rid of all the weeds and you'll have the one, you see. This is, of course, the irony of the garden. Because when you pull the flower, pull the weed, you also pull the flower. Because before the weed and the flower, there is one, you see. But the one is not the garden. There is no garden that is one. You are the one that creates the garden. So getting back to Eve, I really think that the Jews were ironic. They think ironically. So they inverted everything. Instead of the goddess being one, they made Adam one, or God one. And then Adam, the son of God, is the one. And then they took Eve out of his... So Adam gave birth to Eve. That's ironic. It's just in all the other religions of the world, the mother gives birth to everything. The mother is the world. It is her womb that creates phenomena. And we're like inside this little womb, like in a bottle, trying to get born. Trying to get born out of history. Trying to get born out of time. Trying to get born out of the confusion and the irony and the contradiction, you see. So it's all in that simple little cone. I cannot pull the weed for pulling the flower. So Eve is kind of like an inverse. Eve is kind of like an inverse great goddess. She created the pairs of opposites. The pairs of opposites are the discriminating mind that discerns between the weeds and the flowers. She's a shopper. She goes to the store and she picks the good thing, the good fruit, and discards the bad fruit. She picks the good pottery and discards the bad. So she's always picking, she's always doing Eve in choosing the good from the bad and getting rid of the bad, throwing it out, you see. But before the garden, you cannot pull the weed without pulling the flower because they're one. So you see how this is kind of, for me, is kind of like an inverse. So Eve really is the great goddess who creates the pairs of opposites of good and bad. She creates the phenomenal world where there are good things and bad things, up and down, in and out, hot and cold. And Zen, in its utter simplicity, points dramatically to the one that is before the two. So, when the monk comes to the master to find the one that is before the two, and he says, what is the way back to the garden? And the master might say, a bagel. Or he might say, the kitchen sink. Or he might say, did you take out the garbage? In other words, he points before your world got divided into two. So you are the way to the garden. Not out there, but you. You are the one before the two. So anyway, thanks for dropping in.